What no politician ever wants to be connected to: fast money, the sex trade, and a long trail of emails. But that is what appears to have pushed the Prime Minister's office into calling in the RCMP on one of Stephen Harper's closest confidants. His nickname was the Mechanic. In the power backrooms of Ottawa, Bruce Carson was known as the man who could fix anything.
Bruce Carson has been a fixture around Ottawa for as long as I can remember, in the Office of the Official Opposition, in the PMO. This is a major backroom boy. So when this Ottawa water company needed a way into First Nations communities, Carson told them he could fix that. The company hoped to secure contracts with Indian Affairs, selling water filtration units to First Nations communities. Carson said he would use his connections with the Harper cabinet to get them a deal.
Are you still an advisor to Harper?
Not officially.
Not officially, okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, we talk on a regular basis, and I talk to a number of his ministers on a regular basis, but...
Carson claimed his connections were so intimate, he wrote an email that John Duncan would be appointed Minister of Indian Affairs before it happened. I spoke to the PM last night, and with Atleo, the movement of John Duncan to INAC doesn't slow anything down.
These are very, very deeply troubling allegations. This is a story that has to be examined very closely, and the Prime Minister has to now explain his relationship with Mr. Carson.
Carson claimed he had the support of Indian Affairs Minister John Duncan's office, and Carson promised to use his position at the Canada School of Energy to help.
We're trying to hang this on the environment part of the Canada School.
But Carson never registered as a lobbyist. Despite that, the emails continued, and so did his lobbying efforts with Indian Affairs.
I'm not a registered lobbyist because I don't lobby. And like when I found out about this, what I thought the smartest thing to do was talk to Shawn and then phone up a couple of folks in Indian Northern Affairs and find out what the fuck's going on with this thing.
Former PMO staffer who is now in touch with government and trying to win contracts that someone they're close to is involved in, I think crosses the line.
And why would Stephen Harper's former advisor get into all of this? Love. Carson met a 22-year-old girl named Michelle McPherson, an Ottawa escort who goes by the name Leanna VIP. Carson told APTN she was his fiancée, and that they shared this house outside Ottawa. McPherson stood to earn millions of dollars because of a contract Carson okayed. APTN obtained a copy, and McPherson stood to earn 20% from any deals signed with First Nations. The potential dollar figures are large.
Anywhere from $3,500 to $6,000 a home.
It would have been quite the haul for McPherson. The deal was potentially worth millions of dollars, and the company believed it was close. Confronted on camera, Bruce Carson said he exaggerated his connection to the Prime Minister.
We know that you have been talking to the Prime Minister.
I haven't talked to the Prime Minister about this at all.
Well, you wrote an email, sir.
I have not talked to the Prime Minister about this, no.
You're denying writing an email on August 6th at 7:01 saying you spoke to the PM last night about the cabinet shuffle involving Duncan?
That wasn't true. I spoke to somebody, but it wasn't the Prime Minister.
Water. It's a big deal on First Nations communities. Many have water that isn't fit to drink, and that's where this Ottawa company got the idea it could help.
Started with the principals of the company being interested in doing a difference on some or all of Canadian reserves, because the principals of the company, they saw that there was severe problems, water problems, and they wanted to do a difference.
According to an APTN source, things started to change at the company.
Some people had ulterior motives that deviated from the original principles of the companies.
Those motives may have been the drive to sell water filtration systems to Indian Affairs, and Bruce Carson was just the guy to get the job done. His professed connections in the Prime Minister's office were appealing, not only for the company, but for the Assembly of First Nations. National Chief Shawn Atleo met Carson while the two were putting together the Specific Claims Tribunal. They kept in touch, and in emails, Atleo seemed very interested in the water filters and what Carson had to say. I met with these guys in Ottawa. Can either of you touch base with Bruce tomorrow to begin sourcing a potential First Nations pilot site? And it appears that Carson used that email to advance his company through Indian affairs. I have been working with the National Chief and his staff on water quality solutions on reserves and have been directed to you as the folks at INAC who deal with water issues. But there's more. Carson wrote in an email on July 26th that the AFN needed something big. The AFN need my help getting rid of the Indian Act, so all of this will work together. And it was just days before this that Atleo announced in Winnipeg his plan to get rid of the Indian Act in 5 years.
You know what? I've talked about the need to get rid of the Indian Act.
With Mr. Carson.
As well as many other hundreds, if not thousands, of Canadians.
In October, mid-level AFN officials raised concerns over appearances the AFN was endorsing the company, but Atleo and Carson remained in touch. According to one of the owners of H2O Global Group, the company sponsored a table at the Special Chiefs Assembly.
I believe it was through Shawn Atleo, right, that he explained what was happening with this dinner, and we said we'd love to sponsor it. And so we put a sponsor in for a table and spent a certain amount.
Atleo told CBC that the AFN broke off ties with the company late last year, but the two met again last month at a downtown Ottawa restaurant. High Steakhouse is a known gathering place of the who's who in political life in Ottawa. Sources tell APTN that this is where National Chief Shawn Atleo, his wife, Bruce Carson, and his fiancée, Michelle McPherson, sat together and ate on Valentine's Day. This is months after your staff raised concerns about Carson's activities and the use of the AFN, and you're having dinner with him at High's on Valentine's Day with your wife and Michelle. This seems pretty intimate relationship you had here.
Well, notwithstanding, it's one of about 3 times that we've sat down.
But you were investing a lot of your capital with him.
Over a meal in the last several years. And so to characterize this as anything less than of integrity and honor.
Nobody's questioning your integrity. What we're wondering about is your relationship with Mr. Carson and what sort of access you thought you could get with him.
Well, I don't need access from Mr. Carson. I have a direct relationship with the Prime Minister. He says pick up the phone, call if there's issues. The ministers, I have the same relationship with them. I do not need Mr. Carson to be able to have so-called access. So I want to make that part very clear.
As the political storm engulfs Bruce Carson, National Chief Shawn Atleo, like the Prime Minister's office, is distancing himself from the former PMO aide. And the RCMP will begin the investigation on Monday.
Thank you.